Well, it's been a few days since you've been out here. And in the last few days, we've been turning this rough ground into some nice, smooth land, usable land. And how we're doing this is we're taking our Cat 299 land management, and it has a mulcher on it. Well, this is a wood mulcher. Typically, you'd use this type of thing for only mulching wood and not this rocky ground. But I went ahead and put King Kong Carbides on the front of it. It has like 30 hammers that are rotating super fast. And they're made to take on this type of material. Like, this is how the land kind of looks before it looks like this over here. I'm coming through and mulching these trees down, but I'm also getting these rocks while I go through. And this is limestone, so it's a pretty soft rock. So as it comes through, I'm making this into gravel basically. Because if I drop this, here, watch it down here. If I drop this, okay, it will break. Let me try that again. Let's take a bigger rock. So, all right, it's not breaking. Cut that piece from the So as I come through, it'll grind that rock down and it'll get rid of all this tree. The reason I'm not using a stone crusher is that stone crusher rotates at a slower RPM, and one stick will get caught up in that stone crusher, prevent it from moving. So that's why I'm using the mulcher instead. The only thing I don't like about using the mulcher is it does have this rear plate in the mulcher. You can't see it, you gotta get up inside of there. But that rear plate is made for wood to come through and to help slice that wood. And over time, as I use this mulcher, I'll have to replace that at some point just because it's not made for rock, it's made for wood. Kind of hard on the equipment, but when you can achieve a look like this, it's just the cost of your job at that time. So it's cost of doing business. So these are the King Kong Carbides. I call them King Kong Carbides, is the company that makes them is King Kong. Now you can get Cat Carbides, but what I found is that they're not as good and they're a lot more expensive. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble because I know there's patents on all this, but King Kong makes some amazing carbides here. And these have been on here for probably almost a year now. Heck, probably somewhere around 500 hours, and it's been going through rock like this. Kind of the same thing we're doing. You can see that these carbides are still really fresh, really pointed. So as this thing is spinning, it's like 30 hammers hitting this rock and wood every, I don't know how many times. If it spins at, I don't even know, 5,000 RPM, it goes fast. Like when this thing is up, you'll hear it. It'll whine. You can hear this thing from ways away spinning up. So right here is the difference. We have one side of this has been what I would call surface milled, and then the other side has not been surface milled. You got unmilled land with lots of rock and sticks in it, and then you have milled land and there's really no rock in it. The ground is super good, it's black, nice black dirt. We do have some mulch in it, which will provide a really nice coverage to keep moisture in it. But it's not so thick that grass can't grow through it. But you can kind of see as you get down here, I mean, that is good black dirt in an area that's mostly rocky. That'll create a good base for the root systems to get into. I mean, obviously you're not gonna get super deep roots, but it'll provide enough root base for grasses to grow. You see a little grass coming up already. And then as we go through here, obviously we can't get all the big rocks. We can only really get the rocks about this size, or even maybe a little bit smaller than this and smaller to crush. So we're left with big rocks. So these big rocks are kind of scattered throughout this whole area. And I'll come with the Traco then, you can kind of see where this rock was in here. And I'll dig those out. I like to pile them up next to the oak trees. These oak trees will do really well growing around these. So I think what we're going to do now is, since I moved these wood piles away from these trees, so they're shifted back further, on the other side of that pile where it's sitting right now, I actually went through there and did this milling already. And I need to do it in this area again, but there's lots of big rocks in there right now, and there's lots of wood that's left over. So I'm gonna go ahead and change over to skeleton bucket, which will allow the dirt to fall through, but it'll keep the bigger rocks and wood. We'll push these piles up with that skeleton bucket, and then we'll come back through, hook the mulcher up again, so that all the property looks like this, and we'll just have burn piles left. All right, so I'm gonna go over, and with this, the skeleton bucket was made for is just picking up rocks and leaving the dirt. So as I pick up stuff, it'll get the rock, but the dirt will fall through. And if I pick up sticks too, the dirt will fall through. If you take too much at once, sometimes you'll get dirt and you kind of have to shake it a little bit to get the dirt out. But for the most part, it does pretty good by just collecting rocks. But like you can see, it only collects rocks that are this size or bigger, but problem is, turn the rock sideways, it'll fall right through. So really, we're not picking up anything that's smaller than this. And that's why after I do this part, I still go back through and mulch it all anyway, so that this type of rock gets ground down into a smaller powder. That heated seat in there is getting a little toasty. I'm trying to build up a sweat even though it's 50 degrees. Things I need to do is move these piles over to this main pile over here, because this pile is a little bit too close to these trees around here. And even though it's a small pile, you'll singe these trees. So I can't let that happen. I can't fire singe the trees. this is another thing I don't like about skid steers. Now, kind of did this to myself. I made a quick turn on this rut here and it popped my track off my rollers. So it's only off on one side. This top one's actually on right now. So I'm gonna try to get it back on just by rolling it back on. Although, you never really know with these, it could pop it off. So I'm gonna try going forward and hopefully it'll feed it through a little bit. Or we might be out here fixing a track for the next 5 hours. Or putting a track back on, I should say.
You're good.
Disaster avoided. Yeah, I need to grease that out. So right now we have most of this initial area we're working on done to the point to where we need a burn and we need spring to come back so we can plant grasses. Obviously there's a little bit more surface milling to do. There's a little bit more cleanup to do on this side of the property, but for the most part this is done. I spoke to the client a couple days ago, and after seeing all of this, now he wants to start working on the front half. So there's another 5 acres or so up here on this side. It's mostly pretty well cleaned up. There are some places that there's deadfall, some areas that we previously mulched to build trails. So we're gonna go through and clean that all up. And then I think just based on the schedule, you probably won't see anything because the guy behind the camera won't be here for a while. Probably the next thing you'll see is this area all nice and cleaned up, everything done. And then the next thing you'll see is us starting to build the road. So we can just cut to that right here. So today we got gravel coming in to start building that road. If it's just land, that's one thing, but if people get injured, then it's a massive liability.